the real reasons why most diets fail. Because 95% of diets result in weight gain after between 1 and 5 years. You may have heard me talk about this before. But interestingly, most people believe that the reason that that's happened is because it's their fault, because they haven't had enough willpower, because they haven't restricted enough, or they haven't exercised enough, or just haven't got it in them, or they're just lazy or greedy. There's a lot of these internal kind of beliefs going on about yourself if you've been on diets and then regain the weight. But actually, it is not your fault. The diet industry and the weight loss industry would love you to believe, and they very much push the narrative that it is your fault. And it's a great business model for them, because we know that actually in the long term, for the majority of people, they don't work. They might work initially, but they don't necessarily work in the long term. If you can think about it, it's a great business model for them to have you thinking that it's just you that didn't do it properly, so therefore you'll go back for more. And it's an amazing business model. It's not amazing for your health or for you or for your psychological or physical health, but it's great for them for raking in the money, because you go back for more every time. So I want you to think about some of these things as to why your dieting in the past may have failed. And of course, there are some people that can override these things, that it's not true for everybody, but it's true for the majority of people. The people that can override it are often those people that end up with serious problems in terms of their body weight being seriously low, serious undereating type eating disorders. But for the majority of people, in the long term, after between 1 and 5 years, we know from statistics that actually that they fail. And you may read different things where they said, oh, this works, we've done studies. But if you look into the studies very carefully, you can often see that they're really only up to maybe a year long. Often they're 3 months long. That's all they do. And often they cut off at the point where you can start to see the weight regain. So they are quite clever, these companies, at cherry picking bits of information from studies and from designing studies that won't show the eventual weight regain. Okay, so let's look at some of the real reasons why most diets fail. Number 1, your metabolism slows down. Now, it slows down when you restrict your food. The reason for this is because we are hardwired as human beings, in terms of our evolution, to protect ourselves from famine. So our metabolism will slow down when our body thinks that we're going through a famine, we're not eating enough. So our body will produce certain number of different mechanisms that allows our metabolism to slow down to hold on to energy stores. And there is something called weight set point. And weight set point basically means that our body likes to be within a certain range of weights. And everyone's will be slightly different, and it can change over the period of your life. And certainly lots of dieting increases that weight set point. If you are someone who's chronically been dieting, that will go up and up and up. And what it is, it's like a thermostat, a bit like a heating thermostat. So if your weight goes below your set point, your body will kick in, it will start the thermostat working and say, we need to turn down the dial on your metabolism. Number 2, your body will do anything, as I said, to protect itself. And one of the ways it protects itself is to stop you starving. So it will also do anything it can to make you look for food, to search for food. So it releases powerful hunger hormones, of which ghrelin is one of them. And it releases these hormones to make you search for food. Now that creates these sort of intense cravings, urges, hunger. Very often that can lead to binging in people, but certainly that can make staying on the diet very, very difficult. The third reason is because
And because of all of this that's been going on, and particularly because of those hunger hormone releases, you become very obsessive. So if you're weighing yourselves and you weigh and you've gone up by a pound or a kilo, whatever, that can completely derail you because you've become very obsessed around it. It creates this very much all or nothing thinking. So this thinking that I'm either on a diet or I'm not on a diet, it really messes with your head. Very much Last Supper type thinking happens. So this is what happens when you're dieting, because of this sort of obsession about food, about weight, about calories, brings about a much higher risk of mental health problems such as anxiety, depression, body image problems, very much deprivation thinking. Number 4, which is kind of leads off from the third point, is really that dieting is unsustainable for the reasons mentioned. Most people cannot sustain reduced calories or very highly restricted diets with food groups cut out, skipping meals, or any kind of diets for the long term. And of course, when you then start eating normally again because you can't sustain it, you gain weight because your metabolism has slowed down. Because in order to keep up with the weight loss that you've had, you need to keep up with that amount of food or end up having less food than even before. So it just doesn't work. And can take time for your metabolism to heal, because I know this is something that many people ask me. So how can I heal my metabolism? Yes, you can heal it when you start to bring balance back into your eating, to eat in a normal way. It does take time to heal, and it varies on the individual. There's a number of different studies that looked at this, and in some studies it can take a number of years depending on the extremity of the weight loss and how long people have been dieting for. For some people it can take within a year. It's the work is very much involved in. There's lots of things that fit into that work to then be able to move to a more sustainable, enjoyable, balanced way of eating. So what can you do instead? Well, I think the first thing to do is to remember that you didn't fail. The diet has failed you. You're not to blame. You're not greedy, lazy, have no willpower, and all the things that you tell yourself. It's really important to remember that. Number 2, if you can start to add into your diet rather than stripping out, rather than thinking I must cut out these calories, eat enough food that will help your metabolism to heal. Often it's because people are not eating enough food, and eat regularly. So eat, your main meals and add in the foods. So often when people find that they're adding in all different types of foods, making it enjoyable, they're often crowding out perhaps the less helpful foods, for example. But that leads me on to my next point, is giving yourself unconditional permission to eat. Now this can sound quite scary to some people who feel like they're out of control around food. But really you want to give yourself unconditional permission to eat what your body needs. Very often people feel that they don't deserve to eat that unless they have compensated in some way. It's not about that, it's about what your body needs. No matter what else is going on in your life, you need to eat what your body needs. But also what you feel like. Psychologists have research called habituation. And this basically is around when you are not exposed to certain foods. What happens is the power of that food grows. So the cravings for that food, the intensity, the desire for that food grows. But when you are giving yourself that permission to eat that food as part of a balanced diet, urges and cravings for that food will go down. It's no longer the most exciting, powerful thing in the world. Have a little think about what the dialogue is in your head when you're thinking around certain foods that you're cutting out. And then the 4th thing is really to start being mindful, to be curious and compassionate. And I put these together because it's all about removing the judgment and the inner critic. It's about noticing what's going on, so being mindful in a way that, yes, mindful eating is part of this, but being mindful about what's going on in your head, being curious as in, I wonder why that happened, thinking what can I do, with intention to look after myself in a more compassionate way.
Have you tried to do things a bit differently, and what has helped you?